who's really winning this war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni? The powerful smear machine is still going, but what's really crazy is this new person she hired. We got a lot to discuss.
Blake Lively might have just done herself in this battle with Justin Baldoni, although she didn't do it intentionally. It was something she said
long before she ever worked with Justin Baldoni.
Right, but there's something she said that has now been resurfaced, and it is right on the nose as far as what the issues are in her battle with Justin Baldoni.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie.
Hang on, because folks are saying Blake Lively may have just set herself up for trouble in this feud with Justin Baldoni. Apparently, she never intended to do so, but rumors suggest that an old remark of hers, one she made way back before teaming up with Justin Bel, has resurfaced and strikes right at the heart of this whole conflict with Justin Baldoni.
A couple days ago, William Morris's CEO, Ari Emanuel, made it seem like a moral act of loyalty, like that exists in Hollywood. He heaped praise on Ryan and Blake as soulfully beautiful people, flawless, really. He mocked Baldoni in the process. He said, it's an effed up bad situation with what Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. Now, he said Lively and Reynolds are good people. They've been in the business for decades and have never had any bad press about them, and all the people that work with them like them. Okay, he must not have the internet.
People are buzzing about who might be winning this war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and there's talk of a fierce spin campaign swirling around them both. But the real shocker, according to those in the know, is the arrival of a brand new member on her team who's got everyone chattering. Evidence is starting to point to the idea that Blake Lively's lawyer may have walked away once Justin Baldoni's side got hold of a fresh stash of receipts that nobody saw coming. They are saying this lawyer allegedly caught a glimpse of that, knew proof, and bolted before Blake could even whisper the words, "It ends with us." According to someone familiar with the situation, no professional wants to ruin their own reputation by fighting a case built on nothing but smoke and mirrors.
Asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could, I'm just careful about
social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics? Are we talking emotionally?
To run into a celebrity in public, we only have a few moments to maybe speak with you guys. But for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their life. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
There's also speculation about whether Justin Baldoni will possibly sue Blake Lively for everything she's got, because a source close to him insists the lawsuit he's planning is stacked with real evidence, including records and admissions, that seem to outline how she might have forced her way into control of the movie. Insiders believe Blake allegedly didn't just give half-truths to the media, but also to her own lawyer, supposedly leaving out major details that brought heat from all sides. They're also alleging that she questioned her lawyer's competence, insulted her frequently, and found ways to avoid paying her fees, which sounds especially rough for someone hired to defend you in court. Let me just tell you, it's shaping up to be even more dramatic than any campy soap opera you've ever watched. Let's get into it. Because after Blake filed her SH lawsuit against Justin, she seemed confident she'd already won. Especially once big outlets like the New York Times backed her up so enthusiastically. A source close to her lawyer, Meryl Conant G. Sky, is suggesting that they might have felt the same at first, until Justin's team responded with a wave of proof that supposedly poked holes in every single one of Blake's allegations.
Justin Baldoni has spoken out against the New York Times in newly obtained court documents. And I read what happened, so you don't have to. Baldoni has stated that a jury must decide if the New York Times is responsible for its involvement with his ongoing legal battle against Blake Lively. In court documents filed on Friday, March 14th, Justin Baldoni has stated that the New York Times has long presumed itself beyond accountability, not here, and that the New York Times went past merely reporting. He then went on that the New York Times actively vouched for the veracity of its false narrative by publishing Blake Lively's complaint in full, and that the fair report privilege that the New York Times seeks to hide behind does not protect it from liability for maliciously colluding with Lively and her cohort to publish a false and defamatory hit piece about the Wayfarer parties, wrongly casting them as villains and making them scapegoats for Lively's well-publicized media missteps. The New York Times responded in a statement to us, stating that the flaws in the Wayfarer Baldoni case were made clear last week in their own legal filing when they asked the court for yet another opportunity to amend their complaint to try and make it legally sufficient.
After that, more and more people began to think Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, weren't telling the whole story, and public opinion started to shift against them. But sources say things looked even worse behind the scenes, with word. Going around that, Conant Dust Guy dropped the case after discovering it had far too many holes to stand up in court. An expert acquainted with the details also implies Blake's treatment of her attorney was less than kind, making things even more stressful.
I looked through every document, every email, every text message, listened to stories, listened to the history of what he's been through, listen to voice notes, and really try to evaluate, the strength of the defense of the case. And frankly, in this case, the strength of his claims. And like a lawyer is obligated to do, really want to make sure that I go through, as much as possible to really understand what exactly happened, or at least what it seems like happened. Let me ask you, what are the dates of these HR complaints? Do you know the dates?
There's no dates. The dates are redacted. The names of the complainants are redacted, except for on one of them, there's an M. And in Blake's original, when she went to Sony, and by the way, they're not to Wayfarer Studios, Justin's company, they're to Sony, the distributor, to their HR department, and there's an M in there, which means at least one of the other ones came around the same time. If it's May, unless it was March, but probably May, same time as Blake.
There's talk that William Morris's CEO Ari Emanuel praised Ryan and Blake as if they're shining beacons of goodness, which he implied contrasted with Justin Bologna, or Baloney, or however he phrased it. He implied that Blake and Ryan have an impeccable image in Hollywood, and everyone who's worked with them supposedly adores them. But critics say he might not have checked certain stories on the internet. People have long rumored Blake is the classic mean girl of Hollywood, claiming many folks she's worked with have felt the sting of her unpleasant comments. There's been evidence online that her biting remarks have sparked tensions again and again, and some watchers believe her entire career is filled with scorched partnerships. At first, her team tried to defend her by suggesting she was misunderstood, or that she had a unique sense of humor, or that she's simply shy and makes awkward jokes that get misread. But folks kept digging, and they started suggesting that Blake isn't just this shy, quirky person. She's a grown adult who might lack that crucial self-awareness or emotional intelligence needed to treat people well. And that, they say, can only stay hidden for so long before it explodes into a full public reckoning.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
They are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
A source close to one of her co-stars said it's not unusual for them to cringe when Blake fires off sarcastic remarks at inappropriate times, like when she joked about people who might want to share their intimate stories related to the themes of a movie. According to someone on the Gossip Girl set, Blake once joked about Leighton Meester's personal family history in a way that felt mean-spirited, which turned a lot of heads. Apparently, Leighton had been open about her background, but some observers felt Blake crossed a line by turning it into a punchline. Traces of tension between Blake and Leighton lingered throughout their time on the show, and rumors say that the entire cast felt pressure to choose sides. Some watchers think it was just personality differences. Blake is more outgoing, while Leighton is quieter, but others are convinced it went deeper than that. Whispers about Blake's behavior on the production of It Ends With Us suggest she tried to boss Justin around, aiming to assume his role as director, and at times demanded changes to the script behind his back. Those claims only got louder when Blake threw a big lawsuit at him. But something seemed fishy from the start. One big red flag was the sudden appearance of articles accusing Justin of orchestrating a smear campaign, popping up in major media, right after Blake took legal action. Plenty of people suspected that Blake had fed these media outlets her side of the story ahead of time, especially because they published all these claims in what felt like record speed. Observers found it odd that, in their rush to report first, they didn't even ask Justin or his business partner, Steve Sarowitz, or Wayfarer Studios for a response. Some folks are calling that the very definition of a smear machine. Ironically, the same phrase used to accuse Justin of wrongdoing. After seeing how quickly things escalated, Justin fought back with a $400 million counterclaim against the New York Times, Blake, and Ryan, alleging that their coverage was completely made up and aimed at destroying his reputation. Experts close to him are saying he felt he had no choice because that article shaped the public's view of him before he even had a chance to speak. It's like telling the whole town someone's guilty, then handing them a microphone and expecting them to change everyone's minds, right? Meanwhile, more folks noticed that Blake was being super vague about a lot of so-called proof in her complaint, blacking out parts of messages and omitting dates in HR documents so that nobody could see the full context. Naturally, Justin started responding with videos and full text messages, and watchers said her claims began crumbling like a house of cards. Those tracking the lawsuit indicate that Blake's camp tried to set up a conversation with Justin's team to talk about a possible settlement, probably realizing how damaging all these revelations have been. There's a rumor that Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, has no interest in settling because the fallout has already been massive for Justin, his finances, and his family, and no sum of money can truly fix that. Friedman is suggesting that Justin needs to go all the way to a jury trial if he wants to clear his name and get any sense of justice. They're saying it's gone way beyond the kind of showbiz drama that a quick check could magically erase. It looks like Friedman is absolutely set on forcing a public showdown, wanting everyone to see the evidence and reach a verdict on who's really been running a smear campaign against whom. There's also chatter that Ryan Reynolds wants off the hook, filing documents to remove himself from the lawsuits, since he supposedly wants no part in Blake's sinking ship. Friedman allegedly responded by insisting that Ryan's role was bigger than he claims, pointing to rumors that Ryan tried to push Justin out of Hollywood circles. He implied that Ryan's name is all over the alleged campaign to damage Justin and Wayfarer, which Friedman considers a serious problem. He believes Ryan's attempt to shrug off responsibility only highlights how he lit the match and is now trying to duck out while everything burns.
Brian Friedman rips into Ryan Reynolds and his motion to dismiss. I was waiting for Brian Friedman's response to Ryan Reynolds now wanting out of the lawsuit, and we finally got it. I love that Brian Friedman is not afraid to speak his mind, speak the truth, and I love how much he defends Justin Baldoni. Obviously, I know he's Justin's lawyer, he's getting paid probably really good money, but he really goes and fights for Justin. And I agree with every single word that he said. Friedman told TMZ Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues, this time arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse. Mr. Reynolds was a key player in the scheme, defaming Justin around Hollywood, strong-arming WME into dropping Justin as a client and trying to destroy Justin's career however possible. He goes on to say his fingerprints have been all over the smear campaign against Justin and the Wayfarer team since day one. Mr. Reynolds now attempts to reduce plainly cognizable names to hurt feelings, sending a clear message that bullying is acceptable. After lighting a match, Mr. Reynolds now seeks to run from the flames. It won't work. The Wayfarer party's claims against him are real and they are serious. Mr. Reynolds can appear on as many sketch shows as he wants and feebly try to make a light of his current situation, but we will not stop until he is held accountable for his actions.
An insider close to Friedman insists he's not afraid to keep calling out Ryan and defending Justin, which some see as an example of Friedman really having Justin's back. And people can't help asking what's next. Will Blake end up hiring a new lawyer? Will she give up on the case entirely? Folks are waiting to see if this is the last chapter in her fight with Justin, or if there's another twist coming our way. Actually, we'd love to know your thoughts, so please tell us in the comments what you think will happen next. And while you're at it, share this story with your friends, subscribe for more updates, and stay tuned for the next big reveal. We're counting on you to keep the conversation going, so don't hesitate to jump in and join our growing community. And remember, we're all learning as we go along, adapting when necessary, and staying true to who we are, even when the Hollywood drama is off the charts.